Now we are.
Oh, yes, it's come up in the
You're
corner.
alive.
Let me just get to comments. Nobody there yet.
I
There'll be
doubt we'll
along
get
shortly.
anybody.
Sure. What do you want to talk about tonight?
I want to talk about anything tonight. I want to.
Yeah,
I want to
good.
just have a good time, just talking about knives and.
We'll try and see if the people in the chat can lead us in a direction that we haven't thought of with no preparation for, and we just chat about it.
Yeah, because we're knife experts and we could do anything and go anywhere.
Absolutely an expert, yes.
Yeah.
People will know by my succinct and well-read knowledge that I show on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Not.
Me too, right?
Oh, you're a professor compared to me. You're a professor compared to me.
You know, I do a lot of research. I study a lot and I retain a lot of that. But it's also when you're talking about like a case knife, that's easy to do, right? So if that's all you're talking about,
Oh,
hey Kathleen, if that's all you're talking about, it's easy to be an expert on case, right? I won't say it's easy, but like I was just chatting with a case collector, and I did a video on sow bellies. Hey Dave, I did a video on sow bellies, and I was talking about how some were 3 blades and 4 blades and 5 blades, and he had commented that he had seen single blades, and I believe I recall seeing that, right? So I kind of retain things like that, but my recollection was that it was a modern sow belly from Case.
Yeah,
that had a single blade, and he actually had one in his collection, and it's so cool. I love when people come back to you because it's like a data point, right? It helps us as much as we help them. And he came back and he said, yeah, I found that in my collection. And it was a single blade that dated, I forget when, around 2017 or something. And I love having that interface with people for that reason, because I learn a lot. Look at Gizmo. I mean, the guy's got really good knowledge, Tobias like knowledge. And I just love when he comments. And
you see, I would be a visual knife collector. I'm more about the visual, how it feels in hand. The history of the company. I do like to know the history of a company, but I don't really investigate that much.
Yeah,
but I mean,
you're shallow. You're shallow. You like looking at pretty girls. You don't care how smart they are.
Yeah, I'm all white teeth and smiles, and that's it. There's nothing behind it whatsoever. That's the case, Sow Belly. There, you've got you up there, so you can't really see me.
Yeah. Hold on, let me get it up there.
I don't need to put me up separate, just the two of us. There's the case, Sow Belly.
Oh yeah,
that's a Tony Bowes one from the SHOT Show.
Hey Jason, hey Todd. Go ahead, keep going.
I think this is typical Tony Bowes, just comfort in the hand, absolutely beautiful. Full 4-finger knife for a large hand.
So let me ask you something. How do you feel about that knife? About it, it's just a single blade. Do you miss the other blades, or do you like the fact it's a single blade? Or
absolutely not. I would say 90% of the time I carry a single bladed penknife.
Right. Okay.
In any given day, I carry a single bladed penknife. My main carry is my Bear, which is a single blade.
Mm-hmm.
That's my modern folder, and that's with me every day. But my pocket knife, 90% is going to be a single blade. I'm not a great one.
It's only one blade on there.
Yeah. I mean, and I always have at least 2 knives on me. Do you know what I mean? I'll have my daily carry, which is the Bear, and then I'll have either 1 or possibly 2 other knives. If I'm reviewing something, I'll have my user and the review knife.
Yeah.
So it's overkill, I know, but I like knives.
I I like to have a second smaller blade. So
Yeah.
that's the drawback of this modern folder, right?
Yeah.
Is it has that single blade, which is all you can use at one time, but
Yeah.
they're so big, there's things you just can't do with these. And so if I'm going to have 2 or more blades on a knife, I like to have a smaller blade, and that's why I carry a medium Stockman, so that I
Yeah.
can have that smaller blade.
Well, here's what I would choose if I wanted a 2-blade knife: is the copperhead.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've got a couple of copperheads. One's got a clip point, but I chose this one for the 2-bladed knife because I love the Wharncliffe on it. You've got reach, you've got a point, you've got a thin tip that if you want to do work, whatever. But if you're in a place where there's maybe sheeple about, there's nothing nicer than to be able to take a wee pen blade out. Now, it's wee, but it's over 2 inches long.
Yeah.
Well, that'll do most tasks you're ever going to do in a cafe or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to scare people. And I think that's the joy where the copperhead has got it right.
Well, just the fact that it's pretty is less scary.
Yeah. Color is a great, I think if you got a nice, bright, cheerful color, it takes away an awful lot of the threatening, from a knife.
Yeah. If they made like Mediterranean blue ARs, it would go a lot better, right?
Very much, yeah. I mean, you would pose to get shot.
Flowers on them instead of camouflaging them.
You'd find an awful lot of criminals standing like this at the bank.
Yeah, that would work better.
Well, hello, everybody in the comments. We're just going to have a blether night. If there's anything you want to talk about, just give us a shout, because we're just going to talk about anything that we've got in our heads, but we're open to going anywhere you want. So just chime in and please let us know what you want to hear us blether about. We're feeling very, very chatty tonight. It's like a first date.
So, I was telling you about my Kaiser Tower K, right? I'm gonna put the pretty guy on solo for a minute.
No, that's okay. I like solo.
Okay. So that's that Kaiser I bought for $38, Lennon micarta, and I was telling you how fantastic this knife is for $38, right? And the last time we talked, I was telling you like I stuck that in the wood and I was prying back and forth on some fallen logs when I was out hiking, and just to test the blade out. But last week I was doing some work and I had to cut around some concrete, and the tip of the blade here from about I got to do this backwards, from about here
other way
here got on that concrete. And so I was able, like, it dulled the blade, right? It's 154 cm, it dulled the blade, and all I used was a ceramic rod on it. Usually when I hit my knives with a ceramic rod, it's a touch up at the end of the week, and I do like 4 or 5 passes. I did have to do like 10, but it came only took 10. And normally, you would think like, okay, if I dulled my blade on concrete, I'd have to use a stone. But it came right back with that ceramic rod. So it tells me that the heat treatment is right on the knife,
Yeah, I mean,
good steel.
154 cm is just, it's like the VG10s, the 440s. They're so easy to bring back the sharpness, which makes it a beautiful EDC knife.
Yeah,
so it really does make it. It's so easy to bring back. I think for most beaters, I want a steel that I can bring back the sharpness quickly, because that's the whole idea of having a beater. Because the chances you're going to dull it, you're going to, wear it down a little bit. So having it easy to bring back is just perfect.
So I want to show you another one I got just today. It just came in today. and it's a Michael Ziba, right? So it's an upper end knife. It's not terribly expensive though. And the thing that's cool is it's a slip joint, right? So Michael Ziba, he's Polish. If you're not familiar with them, I've had his knives on the channel before. They're absolutely fantastic. The guy, what's great about it is he's a perfectionist. You know what I mean? So his knives are just perfect. He looks at every detail on that knife, and it's a slip joint. So this is called the Heritage. There's a Ziba, and it's called the. Oh, let's see if I could get it in here. Oh, if you could see the Heritage right there. And this is brown micarta, which kind of looks like wood. So I like that. But it's a modern slip joint, so you can see the attaching hardware is anodized blue. The liners are titanium and they are blue. So it's a very light knife. You can see like the Coke bottle, a very slight Coke bottle design here. So like it's thin here and then swells and then extends again towards the front of the blade. And it has a harpoon edge on it. Listen to this. Just solid.
Beautiful. If I'm not, Michael, if I'm not wrong, I'm sort of going back on my memory because I mean, it was about 7 or 8 years ago. Michael Ziba was much more talked about. There was, you know, I seen many more. But isn't that handle shape really a handle shape that he uses on different models?
Yeah, the I think it's the S5. He uses this handle shape on it
because it looks so familiar to me. But I'm thinking back a few years. But I mean, he's been at the top of his game for a long, long time.
Well, and these knives are nothing compared to what he produces. I mean, he produces $100,000 knives, right? So, but it's. I was kind of. I'd be honest. I'll tell you, I'm kind of underwhelmed for the money, which is not a whole lot of money. It was $209, but you know. It's brushed stainless, and I think it should have been polished. But you know, there's a lot of people out there that love brushed stainless, and you can see it right there. You know, so it's perfect. It's a beautiful finish on the knife. I just, you know, for that kind of money, I'd rather have everything polished.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's a hell of a price for a custom knife. I mean, I got, and I'll show it in a minute, but I mean, I got the Shing knife from over here. He's a UK custom maker.
Yeah.
This is in the same Magna cut. The only difference is it's a jigged bone. And well, there you go. It's in a jigged bone, which he does himself. It's all handmade. This knife completely handmade. Lovely blade.
That's worth more though, because it's a big bone. It takes a lot more work.
Yeah, and it's got the hand satin, the hand rubbed finish.
Right.
But that cost £280, which is going to be up near the 350 mark.
Right.
So, I mean, what you got for 209, I think that's a fair price for a custom maker. I don't think you've been ripped off at all.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm cheap. Okay, I'm cheap. I want a lot. If I'm gonna let that money fly out the door, I want something for it. You know.
I agree with you, and that's what I learned this year. I think it's been a very important lesson. Levi, a lovely gentleman, sends me his custom knives. I absolutely adore his custom knives. Absolutely adore them. But in my price bracket, it's not something I'm going to have to worry about. My price bracket is the £300 mark for a real, what I call a high class custom knife, not 1,300 or more. So yes, but I'm getting mine. I want everything like you. You want everything you can get for that price.
Yeah. And I think a lot of guys struggle with spending, not so much on spending the money, right? I think a lot of guys have no problem dumping $1,000 on a knife. So I have a secret to that, right? I really don't have to worry about it because I have a moderating influence, and that's my wife. And if I spent $1,000 on a knife, I'd be divorced tomorrow. So yeah, it's no problem for me, right, to not buy an expensive knife, because I sit there, like I put candles out on my stairway and littered the stairs with rose petals, and had candles in the living room, and looked, dressed all up and looked all sexy. And the wife comes in, and I tell her how much I love her, and go through that for about an hour till I tell her, I saw a knife that I'd like to get. It's $1,200. And it's like, no, none of that works, right? It's an automatic no. You're not spending $1,200 on the knife.
I was a very weak man when I got married. It was my second marriage, and we're very weak. And the pair of us decided we were going to have, once we decided that was it, and we moved in together, we were going to have a split bank account. We're not going to have separate bank accounts because we'd both been damaged by other people taking more than their fair share. And I'll have to say it was probably the best decision I ever made, because I have to be the policeman in control of my money, for that same reason. But I'm very good. If my wife, if I save for something, she doesn't care what I spend it on. And likewise, I couldn't give a monkey's. And so I don't really have that problem. But I know that I don't feel comfortable. That once I get over £300 of cash, my money, once I feel uncomfortable, because there isn't really, I think that £300, and it has moved over the years, it's got higher over the years. But for me, the £300, £350 maybe, but that's as far as I'm going to go in future. I'm not going to go higher than that, because I think you can be disappointed by £1,000 knife, because it doesn't look that much more different than your £300 knife.
Yeah.
And a lot of that money is the man's name.
Right. And
you do have to pay for that maker's name. And that's where I'm if I have to pay for his name, I'm struggling.
Well, in that regards, the way I do that is like, she'll want to go out, and I'll say, no, we need to save our money and not go out. But when she finds out why I'm saving money, it's, that doesn't go over well. It's like, let me get this straight. We can't go out because you want to save so you can buy a knife. No, we're going out. So let me, for you, especially in America out there, for the minions, the vast minions that we have, the millions of faithful followers, Rosecraft is having their second sale. It's the second one this year. Let me zoom in on this. Sorry, Stephen.
No, go ahead there.
So this is the briar patch, which I wanted to get, and this is a second. And so the reason they second this is they said the gray bone is spotty, but to me, it just looks normal. Yeah. And I know that's not really coming in there good. It's hard to get it in good.
All right, it's coming in all right.
But this puts a case dye job to shame. So yeah, I got that for $30. If y'all are wanting to get, a nice Rosecraft knife, but now's a good time to take advantage of that.
Yeah, because that's nearly half price. In fact, it is half price.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. And no. I got a kayak, and the kayak was a second too. So this shows up a little better. And what they said was wrong with this is they said the blade moves a little bit, wobbles. So you can't really tell that. If you look at the tolerance on that, right, there's not a lot of room to wobble. And what I found out is I can take that blade Well, you can't even see it, right?
No.
I can move the blade. I can tell it's moving, but it's absolutely ridiculous. So, that's a second from Rosecraft. And I think I have one other Rosecraft I bought by a second. I wasn't disappointed with it. And it's a great
What did you
time.
think? What did you think of the kayak? Because it was a very split. There was so many liked it and so many hated it. What do you think of it in the hand?
Well, I love the knife. Okay.
Uh-huh.
It basically is a canoe. Okay. That's what kayak, most manufacturers, a kayak is a bigger canoe, right? And the canoe is one of my favorite patterns. You can see it right here, Stephen, the canoe pattern.
Yeah.
And it just has, a swell center on
it. That's where you sit in the kayak.
Yeah. And now Case produced one of these that was almost 4 inches and called it a gunboat, right?
Yeah.
So
I wish we got that.
That's my only criticism on this, is it is a very small jackknife, and I'd like it a little bigger. If it was 3 3/3 of an inch, I would love this. It'd be perfect. So that's my only criticism. I mean, I love the blade style. This is a blade style. I believe that Kershaw came up with this blade style, the modified sheep's foot. And, a lot of other knife manufacturers jumped on it. But, yeah, I like it. Even the size that it is, I like it. I'm going to carry it.
I did carry it specifically a little bit longer because I wanted to see how that small blade would affect me in everyday cutting. And I never, ever found it short. Genuinely, never found it short. It done everything I wanted it to do. And it's a bit different than every other knife out there. And I quite like that.
It's thicker than a normal Stockman. So it gives you more purchase, to use it. It's got a thicker, more durable blade. I mean, it's a fantastic little EDC knife, in my opinion. But, what do I know? So hold on, Stephen. So, Todd, the worst second I saw from Rosecraft was Baxter's blades, right? And he got a second that had a really, really light red on it, well, wait a minute. He also had a lot of that dragon scale, a lot of hoochie jack. Yeah. So he had one of those where it was kind of bare, in one area. The jigging had been worn off. But so what? They're solid knives. They function like any other knife. They have cosmetic issues.
I had that same problem with the Lasahuchi jack, and what I done is got the black thin Sharpie, and I just colored all the lines in, and it's still on today. It's never come off. Just put it in the cracks, and that's it, and it just covers it beautifully.
That's because you're a master cutler.
Well, I think so. I think of myself along them lines. I'm misunderstood. What I was going to say, I seen somebody talking about fixed blades. It's gone now. Somebody was talking about tops knives, and I've never had a tops knife, so I really don't know. I know they've got a fantastic warranty and all that sort of thing. But when you live over here in the UK, that warranty it's not quite as appealing because I still have to send it back to the States and pay for it to come back to me. So the warranty isn't the be all and end all. But I know they make a fantastic knife on what other people have said. But I got this knife from a UK maker. His name is Ron from RC Knives. And he makes these in a shed at the bottom of the garden. And look at that sheath to start. I just want you to see the double stitching at the top here, which is just gorgeous.
Okay, before you get too deep in this, and I forget, do you have a video on that knife?
Not yet, no.
Okay, when you put the video up on that knife, will you go ahead and put the contact information for RC Knives on there?
Yeah, he's not actually making at the moment. Well, He might be. We're still talking away to him. This is a friend of Mikey at Baldy Blades. It's his
Okay.
friend. He's bought knives off him for years. He's on a wee sort of hiatus at the minute, but we believe he's going to be coming back into it again. And I will put the details up as soon as he comes back online for making again.
Okay.
You know, he has his own job as well. So it's just, don't want to swamp him with work, because when you see this and you see, you know, the value in this here, look at that leather sheath. Look at the welting on that. It is beautiful. And he makes these sheaths of weld that come with your knife. They'll be molded to your knife. Look at this. Look at that beautiful knife. And this one, Mikey had got, because it reminded of Paddy's potato peelers green, and we have the orange. There's the two colors here in Northern Ireland. I couldn't care. I'm for everybody. This is just a stunning knife. Look at that. I've never seen a pommel done with a G10 that's on the back of the liners. I think it's classic, really classic. But this is a fat knife. He makes them for a large hand, unless you say otherwise. And I have a large hand, and my fingers are not, they're just touching my palm and no more, but they're not sticking in. I couldn't stick my finger in.
Okay. Do you offhand know how wide that the handle is? It's more than a half an inch, right?
Oh yeah. I'll give you a rough guide here. I've got a wee ruler. I'll give you a rough. It is about an inch.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a fat, thick knife, but for a large hand, it's absolutely perfect. The depth of it in the center is about an inch and a quarter, maybe. The depth, the deepest part of the knife here. And let me tell you, you know the way when you get a bushcraft knife and you're pushing hard in the wood and it can move back on you? It's very it's you know, it's not a nice feeling when the knife's moving in your hand. With this, there is no gaps. It's solid in your hand, and you can just power through anything. But that edge, and this is done by hand.
So the thing is, most knives, it's more or less a momentary cutting thing, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're skinning or doing bushcraft, it's a much longer process. Exactly. And the thicker the blade is, the more comfortable that is, because your hand's not going to cramp up by having to grasp this little half-inch knife. Exactly. And so it's a good thing in a bushcraft knife to have it that wide.
And like, even this is just a very mid-sized bush. What length is a blade? It is, let me just see. The blade is just under 4 inches cutting edge. So, I mean, it's a good sized bushcraft knife. 4 to 5 inches, you would call a bushcraft knife.
Yeah.
But this just looks, because it's got a very deep blade here as well for a bushcraft knife. And honestly, the thickness is absolutely beautiful. That's 1/8 of an inch, I'm sure it would be.
Okay, I'm not sure I'm understanding this, but Dave wants to know, is your name a V or a PH?
It's a PH. My name is Stephen. For those who don't know, Paddy is just my channel name and my alter ego.
All right.
It's that's where that came from. Paddy is my alter ego, my knife person.
Right.
I call to in the darkest hours. But yeah, I have to say I'm really, really chuffed with this. But as soon as we get any details of when he's going to be making again, and he normally makes in batches of 3, so it's just a lovely knife. And they're up to a really fantastic price, but I don't want to give them out until he does that. That's not my. But let me tell you, they're very, very, very comfortably priced.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really chuffed to get that now. It's got the dangle on there.
That's probably what, C70 steel in that?
No, that's the bit that I'm going to add to it. It's AEBL.
Oh, okay.
Which is a fantastic steel for a bushcraft.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lovely steel, easy to sharpen, tough. So
Okay.
I'm over the moon with it, I have to say. And that Mikey actually gave that to me as a gift, which is the other reason I don't really know the price. So we'll leave the price until he comes back online, and then we'll give out the prices.
Yeah, and put a link so let us know
I,
how to
I'll
get.
actually I'll let you know, and then you can put it on for your subs.
So I'll show you another thing I've been up to. Um, I've really come along with my case collection this year, and this little knife here I bought. It's a 7201 pattern, and these you just don't see every day. The '01 pattern because it's a little tiny pen knife, and this is a two. Let's see, 2 5/8 inches long. Really, really tiny knife, but it's real pretty walnut right there. And another cool thing is, let me see if I could get it in. The case is blackened. See that? So you have the case circle. Usually that case is not blackened, and the circle and the case is blackened on it with the enamel. So that's pretty cool.
But that's been patted. That's just a marker pen.
Yeah. Hey, we can do that, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I learned that actually from firearm channels, right? So a lot of guys with firearms were modifying their firearms, coloring in these areas that could be colored, like logos and things like that.
I
And
think that black looks really nice on that. That really makes it stand out.
it's different,
Yeah.
it's another. I pick things like that up. Another thing is, you have two easy open notches on this, one for each blade. So you can see that one for that blade right there.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you have another one. Let's see. There you go. You can see it right there.
Yeah.
And really pretty knife, though. Awesome little snap on this knife. And of course, nice finish on it. But yeah, I'm just that's the way I do it. Like I don't like collect a case knife and want 10 different colors. I try to get all different patterns. This is a 27 pattern, which is new. The blade is awesome. Good shape, good geometry on the blade. I think it's a 70 something, 79 maybe. I'm trying to open it. I wore all my fingernails off. Oh,
I've got to say, my fingernails were made for pocket knives. I have the toughest fingernails of anybody I know. It's the only trouble is if I do actually bend one, it's flipping agony.
yeah, you got talons, right?
Oh, it's just even when they're extra long, they just open things that other people don't even try to.
So that's blade geometry on it. It's just perfect. And it's it's a 79. Listen to this. You hear it?
Yeah, it's a good snap.
It's crazy for a little tiny knife. It's like a gator snap on it. Ugh. What else we got?
I got a wee case that you went like for your collection. I don't know whether you've got one in your collection, but I've never seen one with you. Just stick it down to the two of us. I'm quite happy.
There you go.
Have you ever had one of these?
Yeah, so that's like a bow trapper?
No, it's a razor knife.
Yeah, I know it's a razor knife, but the pattern is like a bow trapper. What's the pattern on the knife? Now I put you on the spot. You have to actually be able to see.
51, 10, 90, or maybe 9S. 98 or 9S?
An 09? Or
No. 51.
what's the last two numbers?
I think it's 98, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty collectible.
And it's a case double X. But this was just, I think the bloke who sold it to me didn't know what it was, but more importantly, I didn't know it was special. It was only when I bought it and showed it on the channel, people were saying, God, you do not see many of them about. And
Yeah.
and it's got the wee, that's why I brought this out. It's got the same shield, but it hasn't got the darkened inside or outside. It's just a case shield.
What year is that?
I have no idea because I can't find it in the books that I've got. There's no dots on it or anything. So it must be, I take it that means it's early. But
well,
I don't know.
It could be a case classic.
It doesn't say it. It just says, the top it says case XX USA, then the number and SS.
Okay, that's a 90.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a cab tang, but it's like it's new out of the box. And I really didn't pay a whole lot of money for it. Not that I was trying to rip them off, but I had no idea. I thought I was just buying like a wee peanut. That's what it looked. That was my ignorance. So sometimes ignorance works. But yeah, I do like the smaller knives.
I like to collect like that, so I like variation and I like the different colors.
Yeah.
But I don't have a lot of copies in my case collection. I have now I have a couple copper locks because I wanted to get one of those sky blues, so I got a sky blue and it was copper lock.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple different kinds of trappers, but most of my case collection is just single pattern knives.
That's why we get onto it, because that's the way I collect. I don't like having multiples off unless it's a specific one that I'm really looking for. Once I bought one of them, if I see a bone that I like or whatever, I tend to go for it.
Which is, there were a few of these 01 patterns available, but they were in the Delrin, Jig Delrin. And so even though I'm only collecting one pattern, what I try to do is pick my color variation up in the pattern, right? And so when I get a different pattern, like if I wanted purple, I'd be looking for an individual knife that was in purple rather than the standard, red or brown Delrin. And that's how I like to collect them. It saves you money that way too. I mean, why, if you want to collect like persimmon, right? Persimmon orange and sky blue and Mediterranean blue and Caribbean green and all these different colors. If you collect them all in one pattern, you're paying a lot of money for that pattern and duplicating it. And then when you go to another pattern, you see what I'm saying? You got to start all over. So what I try to do is if I want Mediterranean blue, I'll pick a pattern that I haven't, that I don't have yet. Try to pick up one in Mediterranean blue.
Yeah. Now, Dave, I just want to jump in there. Diver Dave, what we're talking about is whatever just comes to mind. And if you've got anything you would like to talk about or hear our point of view on it, please put it up there and we'll just switch over to it and we'll go back and forward all night. There's nothing planned. It's a blether night. We're just going to chat. So we just started talking and it could go anywhere. But I agree with you, and that's why I like your collecting, because you're like me. We do collect lots of different knives. I don't like having multiples. It's not just me. But the only thing that I think you miss out if you don't do that, I love it when these boys have like their case trappers and they have a table full of them.
Yeah.
And they look aesthetically lovely because they're all the same shapes. I think that's lovely. because when I put mine out, there's different shapes, sizes. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't look as quite uniform. My OCD sort of kicks in when it's not square and uniform.
Yeah, it just looks awesome. I love how um, Baxter puts out his whole collection with all of it, with all of those different colors. It looks cool. That definitely looks cool. So hey, Randy, how you doing, brother?
I don't know, but is there any of you right here in the audience? I just wonder what it's like for you. I have all my knives in front of me here. My whole collection is in boxes in front of me. I've got a couple of bushcraft knives up there, but all the rest are in boxes in front of me. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 big, large chest here, and 2 smaller ones, and a large one at the bottom here. So when I come into this room every day, I just open a box or a drawer, and I have a little play through the knives. And I know that maybe sounds infantile to some people, but I love seeing my knives. Just leaving them in I love getting it, open it down, take a tray out, have a look. And that's where I get my idea. Well, people don't think I have ideas, but that's where I get my ideas for the next video, is when I come in the morning, pull them out, and then I see something that I haven't talked about for a while, and that's what starts me off. And I love doing that.
I agree with you. I love playing with the big chest and
yeah. You've got that. I like to get something out of the ordinary, pattern and color. Yep, I mean that's me and Michael. We're just talking about. Well, we both like that. We both like just getting different patterns, different colors. I mean, I just adore it.
There's another side of that too, though. If like you're a trapper collector, and you start collecting trappers from 2000 all the way up to now, there's a lot of variation that you find, little tiny things they did different in a particular pattern that you don't get when you're just collecting one or two of a pattern.
Yeah. And once you start that sort of collection, it is doubly hard to stop.
Yeah.
You mean, once you've got it, you don't want to miss. If you miss a year, you mightn't get it again, and that's always that's too much of pressure for me, to be honest with you.
And another thing's money. So, like, I was out looking at what was available out there. I've been wanting for a while to get a sky blue a scale on a knife, and I found that copper lock at East Texas Cutlery, $47. So I jumped on that.
And that's where you have a real benefit over us here in the UK, and it's probably why I'm less picky about certain patterns or whatever. I get what comes up. If it's something that I like, I just buy, and you literally have to buy it there and then, because if you wait, it's gone. So we don't have that big choice of knives over here. So my collection is built up of people I know that I buy knives from, and there's a lot of us that would swap. If we're going to sell them, we sell them at the same price that we got them for, and we buy from the same price the person got them for. But there's not many groups like that. We have a group. I'm a part of a group that's like that. There's quite a small group, been going for a long time, but people are very fair in the trading, and it's trying to find that group that you can fit in with and like the knives that you like.
So I'll give you an idea, Dave. I don't know whether it'll fit your particular situation or not, but and I'm also not sure of how the construction works over there. But in the States, your wall is put up by studs that run vertically, and then the drywall goes on top of those studs. So you can take your wall and cut in between those studs. And in the United States, it's 16 inches, the space in between them. I don't know what it would be in the UK. It might be up to 2 feet in the UK.
I think it's usually 16 or 18, I think.
Okay, so it's pretty much standard.
Yeah.
So you cut a hole and then you frame that out, and you put a border on it, and you put like glass shelves in there, and what you end up is a recessed display case that's actually inside your wall. It's really easy to do and inexpensive to do. It looks sharp and it saves room. You don't have those shelves sticking out, right? It's all like inside your wall.
That's a fantastic idea.
Well, I had it, so.
Yeah. Sadly, I live in an apartment block, so all our walls are actually brick walls. So it's out for me, but it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, it'll work for brick walls too. It's just more complicated, and you might, if you're leasing or something like that, you might be in a little bit of trouble if you knock out holes in the wall. But
yeah,
you can do it in brick. Yeah.
I'd rather talk my wife into letting me buy a £1,000 knife than tell her I'm going to knock her walls down to put my knives in them.
I remember my dad did that. So we lived in a very small house when I was growing up, and it was a 3-bedroom house, and it had really small living room, really small kitchen, and it just felt really cramped. And my dad, the connector between one bedroom and the living room was blocked off by 2 closets. So you had that space taken up by 2 closets. So his idea was knock out those closets, and then you'd have the open living room plus that closet space, and the bedroom would become a dining room, right? That was his idea, and I'll never forget him just pounding a hole in the wall, and my stepmother seeing that. She about had a heart attack.
Here's Johnny.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, it'll be okay. I'll get it all fixed up. It's like, yeah. Pretty
Hello,
funny.
Blades and Wheels and Randy and Dave. Oh, I've seen Dave, haven't I? Yeah.
Blade and Wheels.
Yeah, he's a new fella. He's on our on the Slip Joint Sanitarium.
Okay.
I have to get to know him soon, so
I still need to join that. I have not joined it yet.
It's called a sanitarium for a reason.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, you either fit in mentally or you don't. It's a definite knife nuts channel.
Yeah, really, knife guys kind of tend to not be right. I wouldn't say we're crazy, but we're just a little different than most people.
Yeah, somebody was saying they wouldn't buy a £1,000 knife. Look, I've been very fortunate that I had companies that sent me. I had a company that sent me knives that were over the £1,000 for the channel. So that's my experience. I actually had them, but I didn't have to shell out for them. But even at that, I love looking at expensive knives. I honestly, and I enjoy handling them. I have somebody that sends me his and lets me handle them and see the workmanship. And it's beautiful. It's faultless work. And it's just exciting because it's one man's thought in his brain down on a knife and makes it. Not necessarily a pattern that you would just buy in a shop. But it really is beautiful. But it's out of my, not my pay grade. So I don't have to worry about it because I'll not, if I get £1,000 again, that's loose money. I'll not be buying a £1,000 knife.
Yeah, I mean, if you're buying $1,000 knife, you can afford it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
I don't care, if you can afford it and you want to buy a £1,000 knife, then so be it. I hope you're happy. I can't afford that, and it would be
irresponsible.
Yeah, it would be irresponsible. But the thing I think we forget, we get focused on little things, right? But guys will go out and have 25 rods and reels, right? And those rods and reels are expensive nowadays. And they might spend $300 on one rod and reel, but overall they got 10 grand, 15 grand in rods and reels.
Yeah.
Right. No reason to do that, but more power to you. If that's where you want to put your money, I'm with you, right? Have fun, enjoy life. It's really short. And, if you're, I mean, we're talking $1,000 knives. I mean, there are $100,000 knives,
Oh, absolutely.
$500,000 knives. These knives can really get up into works of art like Michelangelo. Yeah. And if you got it and you want to spend it, that's great. I don't begrudge anybody.
Absolutely not.
I don't like knife companies. I think knife companies take advantage of people to a certain extent, as most companies do. And I don't like that. But, as far as, what you can afford and what you want to spend on, have at it, man. I don't like I'm a knife collector, and a lot of, you go on these forums, I remember a lot of forums. If you go on these forums and you're talking about colonial knives, they're very inexpensive knives, and you're a joke, right? I don't see it that way. That's part of Americana. That's part of it's like Richards in England, right? Yeah. So Richards is a very inexpensive knife, but it was part of history, part of the knife history, and I think it's worth having them. At least some of them. And I'm not going to put a guy down because he likes colonial knives or he likes Richards knives.
Yeah,
because that's him. And if that's what you like.
We all get pleasure in what we're doing, and
right.
the price doesn't dictate the pleasure. Because when I first started, getting my first Delica was the first sort of high-end knife that I had on my channel. Getting that Delica, I don't think you could have beat the excitement that I had getting that knife. It was only £60, but it was something that I thought I would never spend on a pocket knife.
Yeah,
because I didn't come, I never grew. I was in my 50s before I spent £60 on a knife. So, but that excitement has not changed. Now that I'm buying knives that are £200-300, I get as much excitement, but no more than I got at that Delica. It's that same buzz. The price doesn't dictate how it makes you feel inside. And that's my experience.
Well, I spent $30 on that Rosecraft, and I'm just as happy as the $200 I spent on the the Michael Ziba.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Money doesn't matter to me.
No.
It's the knife. I love knives. I love them all. I have some really inexpensive knives, and they're really cool for a lot of different reasons. The way they're made is different. The what they stand for is different. The evolution of the knife is part of history, and that's interesting and different.
Yeah.
So
everybody knows I love Arthur Wright knives.
Yeah.
And it's not a company. People keep thinking I get knives for free from Arthur. I don't. I pay the money for them because it's a very small business. There's only 3 working in it at the minute. And they hand make knives. Now, not like a multinational like Case. These are proper handmade knives in a grubby little workshop. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's a proper old-fashioned workshop where some of the machinery is over 100 years old, and they still make a knife for £40. And they're all they're making a living out of it. Not a big living, but they're still making a living. But they're getting out a handmade knife, which is traditional. And I get as much pleasure out of that $40 knife or £40 knife than anything else at the minute. That's my favorite knives to get.
Yeah.
So, you got to take the price out of your head. And when like somebody like me, I'll pull out a £200-300 knife. It's not to rub somebody's face in. It's I was lucky enough to have the money free when that was going, and I bought it. And that's it. That's the thought process I put into it. If I've got it in the bank, it's my money. I'm not affecting the food on the table. Buy it. And
I agree.
It's it's not to show off, because I'll show off this more than I will the expensive knife, I'm sure, on my channel.
And I just try to buy them cheap.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the worst partner.
I'll wait. I'll wait 2 years
Yes.
before look, Briar Patch came out earlier this year, right? I
Yeah.
just now got it. Why?
Yeah.
I don't want to pay $62 for it. So I would just waited, you know, and
And that, I think that's the thing, that once you move away from modern knives, that you have this sort of pattern, you know, of prices, and they're all going up and up and up. And even the ones that come in at the basic price, within a year they're going up, and then there's another cheaper model comes in from the same company, like Civivi, you know. Now you've got the one cheaper than Civivi. It just goes on like that.
So
and you can't keep up with that.
I'm not going to get into that. We're having fun. I'm not going to get negative on us. I'm not going to get into that. But
no, but I mean, I couldn't keep up with that, which is why I went to traditionals, and it was the best move I ever made for my knife collecting.
So I mean, sometimes you just got to step back and think about something. Okay, so S30V was originally developed for Chris Reeves, right? He wanted Crucible to develop the steel for him, and they did. And you know, it was a super steel, and it cost a lot of money to get. And so after that, when they figured out people would pay 100, 200, 300, 400 extra dollars for steel, it was a roller coaster of new and improved steels, just like new and improved Fruit Loops, the cereal, right? Every 6 months, there's a drastic improvement in cereal that's going to change the life of mankind. And you got to pay a little bit more for it. But, you know, it's a new and approved cereal. And the thing that really cracks me up is you can get S30V now for in the $80 range, right? From between $80 and $120. And so here's the question, right? I know if you go and you try to purchase S30V, very few knife steels cost more, right? They're all right around the $23 range. Some steels like Crewware are much more expensive, okay? But most of them are right around that $23 range. So if that's true, then why are you able to get a knife, a good knife, and S30V steel for $80, but you got to pay $500 to get it in another knife with the different steel that costs the same amount?
Here's the answer to that.
Yeah, I know the answer.
You don't.
They're ripping us off.
But all you do is go to Boker and buy their newest MagnaCut knife that they brought out in G10 MagnaCut, and it's $120 for a MagnaCut blade, Rockwell hardness to 62.
Yeah. So that's another thing, right? So the other day, when I bought this Michael Ziba knife, I was looking at high-end knives the other day, shopping, thinking about what I wanted to get. I saw some possibilities. I looked at the knife MagnaCut, and then I looked to see what the HRC hardness was on it. Was not advertised from the retailer. When I went to the website was saying that MagnaCut, they had HRC on it between 59 and 60. So MagnaCut should be 63 at least, right? 63, 64. And that's the whole purpose of that. And if you're selling MagnaCut in the same range that D2 is going, 59 HRC, there is no reason to have MagnaCut, right? Where you get all the benefits of MagnaCut is when you put it to the hardness that it's supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be between 62 and 64. You can get it higher than that, but that's what it's supposed to be. So a lot of these steels that people are buying, I'm paying good money for, are not tempered properly. You know, they're not. And that's just a total waste of the super steel. You see what I'm trying to say there? I don't know whether I'm articulating.
Yeah, I do, but I've got the Bexar Bear when it came out. It was one of the first ones that had the Magna Cut, and it's Rockwell. I think it's between 60, maybe 61, but somewhere around 60 it's landed. And I've had it for years. And I didn't, I bought it because it was Magna Cut and I wanted to see what Magna Cut was like. I knew, because I didn't buy it brand new, I bought it after it had been out for a while, but I knew that it wasn't Rockwell to what it was supposed to be. But the thing they say about Magna Cut is it's got all three in one. You know, all three things that you need in a pocket knife steel.
Right.
I'll have to say, so far, I think it's a really lovely steel, but it's not wonderfully. I will never work hard enough with my knives to test that 63 or 64 Rockwell.
Yeah, I agree.
I never will.
I think your average person, if you set 5 knives on the table with different steels and different Rockwells, they couldn't tell the difference, right? They couldn't.
I mean, I like it.
Like that's why I took that. I think the last time we were on, I talked about that Buck Sprint Pro and how good the S30V was on that. So that was done right. Okay, I went 2 months wearing that thing out before I actually sharpened it. It wasn't dull when I sharpened it, but it was pretty not sharp. So, but it didn't take much to bring it back. So that tells you that this is, it was tempered properly, and it's a good steel. But normally every week, I don't care whether I'm using 8CR13 or whether I'm using Magna Cut. Every week, I sharpen my knife. This knife right here, if I'm carrying it through the week, at the end of the week, I sharpen it no matter what. And so, what does it really matter?
There's well, for years was one of my most used knives, the Benchmade 940.
Right. S30V.
S30V, an absolute beast of a knife. It's wonderful. You can do anything with this knife. It's a wee bit thicker than normal, but how many of us is going to take the skin off a tomato in a day? Right. So I'm just going to cut things with it, open a box with it, do whatever. Right. Bit of DIY around the house, trimming off a bit of wood at the end to make it fit somewhere. This knife's done everything, and it never ever let me down. I didn't find a job it couldn't do, and it's S30V, and it's a 20-year-old knife.
Yeah. I just say if you're gonna invest in the money for a top end super steel, make sure you're getting it from a company that is tempering it the way it's supposed to be tempered. Otherwise, the performance on that super steel is going to be down around a steel that you can get for half the cost of the knife, and that's the only thing. I'm not saying that it's not worth it. I'm saying you just need to do a little bit of homework, and at least make sure that steel is worth buying,
Yeah. I mean, look, I think being a slip joint collector more than I am a modern knife, I know for a fact that I can work with 420, I can work with C70, I can work with SF100, which is a Sheffield steel bog standard, maybe 56 Rockwell, sometimes a bit less, but it sharpens easy, it drops easy, and that. So I don't need any of these expensive steels. I do not need any, but I just like to have them because of a knife nut. I can't give you a rational reason why I have them, but I just like to have them, and that's the joy. I can do that.
Okay, so there's a place for that. Okay, there is a place for having a high end steel. If I'm roofing and I'm cutting, those shingles on the roof. If I'm laying floor, and trimming carpet and flooring, if you're a landscaper and you're cutting that plastic corrugated tubing, that they put down for the drains, that's where super steel shine, right? Because you can work all day and it is not going to dull on you. And that's where it really makes a difference. And then on the extremes, if you're like a prepper, right? So one of the things I thought about when I bought my first super steel, which was a S35VN, um, was that this would be a benefit if I had to bug out, leave my home, live in the wild for 2 or 3 weeks, to have a steel that's going to be more durable, and I won't have to worry about sharpening it as often, right? So, there are applications for a super steel, but the way I use knife today, everyday carry,
Yeah,
like
really.
like this knife, I hard use this thing as hard as you can use it. I did that last week, but most weeks, I'm cutting a box open or thread or some cloth maybe. I'm not hard using them,
No.
and any steel will work in that application.
And here's what you think how popular case knives are and how many millions of them are out in the world at the minute, and they use a stainless steel,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's not very high in the Rockwell hardness, but people have still been using this. I mean, I just wanted to show this knife off. Sorry. This is my Tony Bowes high-end case knife, and it is flipping gorgeous. This is a trapper. I didn't like trappers. I actually done a video today on this about trappers.
I
This
love
look
them.
at this. This is the beautiful trapper blade that you will get on most trappers. This is just a little bit thicker than what the bog standard would be.
Yeah,
But the nice thing about this knife, and the thing that took it way above anything else, where's the blooming? Oh, it's on this side. Yeah, that's the secondary blade. Look at that
yeah,
Skinner.
yeah. It's
Now
a skin and blade.
that's where I fell in love with trappers again, because you don't have to have the same pattern of knives on every trapper. And
Right.
I'm now going to be looking for trappers that, and it's not that I don't like spay blades, but on a trapper that to me is a work knife, not in a farm. I'm never going to cut the knackers off a bull. This is more useful to me, cutting a steak, do whatever thing with that sort of knife.
Yeah. So
So
uh, what they call that is a heavy trapper. Okay.
uh,
So the Model 54, the uh, the one we're familiar with, the case Model 54, it is a medium trapper. Okay. So those came out about the same time as the case medium trapper, and those were called heavy trappers, right? So it's a more robust knife. I like those, right? I like the wider handle.
yeah,
A lot of them aren't really, they really don't have long handles on them, but a lot of them have like, they're either a curved jack, or they have a saddle horn jack pattern. Like that, I believe, is a saddle horn pattern. And I like them. I like them better than a Model 54
well, this is a 62. Is that the pattern?
on that knife.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
No, this
Yeah,
it's a 62
yeah,
pattern. The number there.
yeah.
Um,
So if you look at that, and you look at a Remington, you look at Camillus, um, a couple other knife brands, they have that. Remington came out with that in 1922. It's called the Heavy Trapper, and
yeah,
and
got one of those. Yeah.
yeah, and it was transitionary, right? So prior to that, the Coke bottle was king. Everybody used Coke bottle. It was your heavy trapping knife. Yeah. So those knives came out around 1922, but eventually the 65 pattern that Case put out overshadowed that trapper pattern, and
Uh,
people preferred the 65. But I like those. I like those heavy trappers.
it is an absolutely stunning knife.
Oh,
Absolutely. And it's made me fall in love with the trapper pattern. Definitely.
there's also, have you seen? I think you got one. Maybe you don't have one. Who has one? Tom was just showing one. The bow trapper. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes they call them banana trappers. They're like 5.5 inches long. They're really long, and they kind of look like a banana. And you know, so they had a bunch of different models that came out in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah. Actually,
you know,
Rosecraft do a bow trapper very much with that banana handle, exactly the same.
but not as big, right?
Not as big, no.
So the ones I'm talking about, you know, are like 5 inches or better, and they're kind of skinny, you know, but
yeah,
yeah, they had different purposes. You know, that's
yeah.
why they're different. So that trapper you have was meant for like skinning an elk, skinning a big deer.
Yeah.
You
I
could
can
use
see
it on
that.
bear if you wanted to, you know, where the Model 54 wasn't really designed for that. It was designed, you know, for light, like a deer and under, right?
Yeah. See,
But
that's where I don't have the experience of we didn't do deer hunting, or I've never done anything like that. Something I would love to do, but I've never done it. So I mean, every single knife design was designed for a job.
you know what you
Well,
need to do? Honestly, you need to do this.
go ahead.
So you need to come to America, stay with me, and us go out on like a hog hunt or an elk hunt, something like that. A once in a lifetime thing,
Oh,
bucket
yeah.
list thing. Even bear, we could go out hunt bear, and you know, you don't have to worry about walking, because usually when you do that type of hunting with big game, you're using either a horse or I don't know why I'm laughing thinking about you on a horse, but
I love horse
I'm
riding.
sorry.
I used to go out across the moors on a horse every weekend. I love horse riding.
I had horses for a long time, but yeah, you know, or a four-wheeler. So, you know, you don't have to walk a lot or anything like that. But yeah, we could do a once in a lifetime thing.
Well,
And
I mean, that's the sort of thing I would have loved to have done. And it, you know, taken 20 years ago, I would have jumped and been all over it. But I mean, it's one of those things that I'll probably never do. But the dream of it is still there. The lottery might come up. If
Randy
I,
says hunt buffalo.
yeah,
You know, a lot of the stuff I've done in my life, I lived, I'm going to tell you something. I never thought I'd be this age, right? And it's because I
stick
lived
me back
my
up
life
again.
on
Yeah.
the edge, you know? And I've done a lot of stuff that people wouldn't believe, you know, if I told them what I did, you know, they just wouldn't believe it. Crazy stuff. I did crazy stuff. I used to want to kill a bear with a knife. And at 21, I really thought I could do it. So,
Stick your picture back up again. I can't see you. I'm talking to an empty screen
I'm
here.
sorry, I forgot. Yeah, so I was kind of crazy, you know. When I was a kid, I was out there, you know. I was game for anything. I'd do anything. I'd try anything, and
Yeah, I think we all sort of were, and to our own extent. I had a lot of madness in me, and
I've been told I'm not right more than once. Let's put it that way.
Well, to be honest with you, I have a certificate to say I was turned sane. I have a "you are sane" certificate when I come out of the mental home.
Yeah.
After my drying out home was in a mental hospital. So yeah, I am officially sane now. You'll be glad to know.
See, I don't have that though.
You see, it's one of them things. Dear life. Well, I enjoyed that little blether tonight, I'll have to say.
Yeah.
Looks like you boys were talking well away in there in the mad box there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ready to shut it down?
I whatever suits you. If you want to go on for a bit, I'm all right for a bit. So you suit yourself.
You wanted me to show this. I showed it in a video, but you told me to show
yes. Oh, please, I forgot.
That's that Lon Humphrey knife. Look how
Oh,
sexy that knife is. Oh
that,
my
that
gosh.
is beyond sexy. Look at that.
And this, so like I was telling you, the you have to watch a video because this doesn't do justice to the burl that is on this knife, right? I love wood like that. Look
That
at
that's coming up beautifully. Let me tell you, that is coming up beautifully. That
and
could never look bad.
the way the dye just seeps into the little cracks and stuff of this wood is
Stunning.
just phenomenal. Perfect. Look at the profile on that thing.
Yeah.
And
Oh man, that is just sexy.
I was telling one of my subscribers was talking to me about this knife, and I was telling him this is a stout knife. Okay, it's 8.5 inches. It's stout, but this knife is so well balanced. It's like you're not even holding it. It's like it's an extension of your arm, right? It's the way a knife should be made, right? It should be so well balanced that look at the way I'm just moving this big old knife around with two fingers. And that's the way a knife should be balanced. Lon Humphrey is a master cutler, and I love his work. Look at that.
It's just, I think it's quite possibly one of the nicest knives I've seen. It is stunning.
It was my grill knife, and this is not like the first knife I bought. I bought it actually. I only bought it a couple years ago. I think it was like about 4 years ago. I bought that knife, but man, I love burl when it's done right. You know
Yeah,
that Chinese burl, you can have it, but
yeah,
that burl right there, whoo, that
yeah.
is
It is
great, man.
super sexy knife. That super sexy knife.
I haven't polished that either. So that burl is natural. I haven't polished it. It is baby butt smooth.
Just beautiful.
For you guys who aren't grandfathers or haven't had children, you don't know what that is. But I'm gonna tell you, baby butt is like the smoothest thing on earth. There's nothing smoother.
Looks like Crocodile Dundee's knife. Yeah, it does look like Crocodile Dundee's. Yeah,
Lots of knife.
yeah.
That's not a knife.
I,
That's a
it,
knife.
that clip is just, it turns my legs to jelly when I see that. It's just
That's called a
trailing point. Anyway,
no. It's called a Texas clip. And around the 1860s or 70s, Texas started putting this clip on the Bowie because it looked like they called it a Texas clip because it looked like the Clippers, right? The sailing ship.
right.
How the sails on the sailing ship have that U shape. Texas Clipper. That's how it got its name. And yeah, that's
Yes, it's one in a lifetime knife. That
I don't think those knives they didn't have a long that particular design Bowie didn't have a long history, right? Bowies were coming to an end by the time those clips came out. But that Texas clip design, that Mediterranean kind of influence, Spanish influence in the blades spread throughout the West, at least. You know,
yeah.
Nevada, Arizona, Oklahoma, the Dakotas, the mountain country, Montana, Oregon.
Well,
And
that's yeah, the Buck 110 is very much in that sort of style.
yeah, yeah, it is.
I mean, it's got to
Yeah,
be the most famous knife that's out there at the moment.
yeah.
The
That's a
Buck
fighting
110.
knife, though. If I
Oh
was
yeah,
going to war, I would strap that on my side in a heartbeat.
yeah. No, it's a beautiful, beautiful knife.
You know,
And it's like I say, every knife when they were made originally, because there's no real new designs now. I mean, there's copies and other knives that have had additions maybe added to them, but they were built for a purpose. They were built to do a job because that's what they were. They were a valuable tool or an instrument of war. That I mean, that's the whole joy of collecting is
Yeah.
having knives that you know that there's the pattern is there for a reason. And it might even be a reason that we don't use it anymore now. That's why that pattern disappears. And then somebody will bring it back
Yeah.
as a collector piece.
I don't use every now and then you get, genius. So this blade style, which is, basically a sheep's foot, but then they made the edge clip more acute, and you have belly on it, where a sheep's foot is flat.
Yeah.
And that's really innovation right there. It's very, very what am I looking for? Functional, right? So it works.
It's a 940 with a bigger belly.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're all sort of additions. They all add on. It. The pattern comes, and then you get all the different variations that people add to it. Yeah. And I mean, this is the most functional knife, like I said. But I agree with you. That little kayak is one brilliant little. See, if you worked in a like a warehouse or something, what a fantastic little knife to have.
Oh, yeah.
It's in D2, and they're D2 strops as well.
That let me get us back on together. So that was the deal. I don't have a lot of knives like that, right? So yeah. I've got some Kershaws, but this has never been me. And I'm always spear point, clip point, and but the more I thought about it, the more I said, these style blades would be really functional in EDC work. And so when I started carrying this, yeah, they work, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the pattern that I'm in now at the minute. This is one of my favorites. This is the Dino pattern, but it's just another take on that pattern. Yeah. And then within a few weeks or a few months of getting that one, I then got its big brother. Very similar pattern. Look at that. Both the Dino pattern, but just one's a bit bigger than the other. They have the same DNA.
Yeah. I love the innovation. I love the knife companies that can experiment. Now, there's a lot of patterns out there that are aesthetic and have no use, right? Yeah. There is a lot of blade patterns out there. And really, it boils down to, some things work and some things don't. But, that kind of innovation where they put a little bit of belly on a sheep's foot, that's brilliant, right?
And that's who Tony Bowes was. That's why I liked him so much. He was somebody that brought patterns back, maybe added a little bit to them and whatever, but he actually brought so many patterns back into use.
I don't know. I see that in Andy too. I'm not saying Andy is in Tony Bowes' class, okay? No. But putting a lamb's foot on an American knife needed to be done. Okay, the lamb's foot is a fantastic blade that England has used for hundreds of years. Absolutely. And Americans just don't use it, right? They don't put them on the knives. Yeah. And I'm so glad he put one on a knife so that other people will copy it. And I'd rather have a lamb's foot on a blade than a sheep's foot,
Yeah, I mean, the lamb's foot gives you so many different options.
Yeah.
With that narrower tip to the blade. And I don't mean the tip is narrow, but the blade shape itself tapers down, and it lets you get in places where you wouldn't have got in with a sheep's foot because it's more blunt, and it gives you that reach that a Wharncliffe would do, but gives you the same effect as a sheep's foot. But it's just the lamb's foot's a very popular blade over here, and for a reason.
Yeah. I can't believe people are actually still listening to us, but
no.
we do this all the time. Like we'll talk during the week and spend over an hour just blabbering.
Yeah, and
about
stuff. Usually one of our wives says, right, I've had enough now, get off the phone.
It is, right? It is the wives. You know what happens? They get jealous. You know, my wife has told me that. She's like, you can talk to him for an hour and a half. But you talk to me 5 minutes and you want to quit. It's like, well, I don't tell her that you're interesting, right? Well, that's because he's interesting. Right?
Yeah. It doesn't seem to work as well, no.
No.
I mean, I'm the same with Mikey or Justin. Sometimes like we get on the phone and me and Mikey can talk for, and like 9 times out of 10, we're not even talking about knives. We just blether for about 3-4 hours, usually late at night, and it drives my wife nuts. Well, it doesn't actually, but she lets on.
It does. I'm sure
it does. On, it does. No, she just loves me being happy and talking about knives. Not on your Nelly.
All right. Hey, let's wrap it up and let these folks get to their dinner. And I had a great time, Stephen.
Yes, I always enjoy chatting to you and
talking about nothing.
Talking about nothing and sorting everything out.
Yeah.
People will leave here enriched. Their knife collecting will change and they will become clones of us.
Yeah, so I've been meaning to talk to you about the drugs you're taking. You need to cut down on that. I know it's free in England, you know, but yeah.
Everybody wants to be a fat lad with a beard. I've started a craze.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Good night, everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for coming along and bearing with us.
And thanks for joining the show and watching. And I really, man, I appreciate y'all so much. I really do.
And if you haven't hit the like button, or 50% of you who haven't hit the subscribe button, get the bloody buttons. Hit it. Costs you nothing, and Michael will be so over the moon.
Yeah, I'm getting close to 2,000. I got to think about what I'm going to do about that.
Fantastic.
I was thinking about giving away like a jet, like a Trump jet or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
737.
Yeah, they're either going to be redundant very shortly or he's going to need them to get around.
Or a yacht, you know.
Well,
something to reward, you know, appropriate reward for my subscribers. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Stephen.
Cheerio, night.
All right. Bye.